Welcome to the HU Move Makers podcast, where we highlight folks that are blazing the trail and making moves in Howard culture. Welcome to the HU Move Maker podcast, where we highlight folks in Howard culture that are blazing the trail and making moves. Today, we got a very special guest from the D. Came to Howard on a full scholarship, 3 times Howard University. Floretta Dukes McKenzie scholarship. I haven't heard that name in a long time. Right now, he's a superintendent. Less than 5% of African Americans make up superintendents, not just in his state of Michigan, but throughout the entire country. Teacher, coach, athletic director, dean of students, central office specialist, assistant principal, assistant superintendent, award-winning educator. This brother holds superintendent certifications in Massachusetts and Michigan. Today we have on the show Dr. Andrae Townsel. Gotta mention that he's a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi. Gotta mention that he's a proud father of 2. A married man holding it down there. So we can just start, man. 29,629 views. Where am I going with that?
Is that City of Gold?
City of Gold.
Got to know your data.
City of Gold. You thought we was going to talk about education this whole time. We want to talk about City of Gold, man. What was the motivation behind that?
You know what, man? City of Gold was a song, a love song, rap song about Detroit, Michigan. I don't know if you recall, in the early 2000s, going into 2010, a lot of negativity across the country was going on about Detroit as a city and also Detroit public schools.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you recall, we had a mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick.
Oh, man, Kwame. Damn, Kwame.
Yeah. Not to disparage the brother. You know, I thought he had a lot of good ideas for the city, but, you know, the chips fell where they may. And Detroit was getting a bad reputation, a bad rap across the country. Me being a longtime student at Howard University, I would always tune into what was going on at home. And, man, it was so discouraging. But what I saw in my city was pride, was beauty, was an unpolished gem. And I put a pen to a pad, made a beat, and started rapping. I mean, one thing about Howard University, it gives you the confidence to do any and everything you want to do. So that song actually went viral in Detroit, and I won a Spirit of Detroit award on that song. Was on a reality TV show because of that song. And that song even helped me to launch a campaign for mayor of Detroit off of a song that was very prideful. And people may not know this, but when that song dropped, I put it on Twitter, and Paul Rosenberg, Eminem's manager, retweeted and said, "How can I not co-sign this?" And then a couple of months later, the Super Bowl commercial came out. And if you look at the City of Gold music video and look at the Eminem Super Bowl commercial where he was driving down Woodward like I was in my video, you can see where they got the inspiration from. A lot of people tweeted me.
Damn, that's crazy. So you ran for mayor?
Yeah, 2012, man. Again, another being hopeful and being excited.
2010. How old were you in 2010?
No, 2012. I was 28.
Man. Well, Kwame was young when he ran.
Yeah, he was young. He was I think he got the mayor job at 34, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's dope to have that album go viral. And just looking at your resume, you know, Detroit, Michigan, you know, clearly means a lot to you to be able to come back home, man. And, you know, being at Howard, man, Detroit had not just some of the smartest people and some of the coolest people, but some of the baddest women at Howard. You know, we don't have to talk about that, but, you know, when you talk about Cass Tech, Renaissance, and King, you know, y'all was sending some high quality folks, and y'all was representing strong at Howard.
Top of the line, man. Those are top of the line schools in the city of Detroit. And there's a lot of great schools in the Detroit metropolitan area, but Cass Tech is number 1 and second to none. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. So, man, you were a superintendent in Benton Harbor. And just looking at some of the statistics out there, like, it's nothing from a statistical standpoint, when we're looking at data, really nothing positive. Not a good place to kick off being a superintendent when you're looking at poverty, when you're looking at education, when you're looking at resources, when you're looking at deficits,
Yep.
budget deficits. What made you want to take that challenge on?
Well, man, I and this is not to sound any way arrogant, but they needed a hero. And I felt that I was tailor-made and prepared for an opportunity just like that. I mean, I trained so hard in the field of education. One thing you didn't mention, I was also a high school principal in Massachusetts at one of the lowest performing school districts in the state of Massachusetts. So a lot of my upbringing and educational leadership came from very difficult turnaround situations.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Benton Harbor opportunity became available, against a lot of people saying, man, don't do it, that could potentially ruin your career, I threw my name in the hat because I wasn't worried about the risk. I was only worried about the reward for the city and the reward for the students. And I was prepared for it. I put the work in the off season. I did what was supposed to be done during my career as an educational leader, always increasing student achievement and always moving the needle in a positive direction with regards to data. And here I am. And right now doing some phenomenal work. I have an excellent board of education, an excellent community, and a great team of administrators that I work with. So, in the next couple of years, we'll be talking about the successes of Benton Harbor as opposed to the deficits.
Man, that's real. I mean, it was so bad there that I want to say the governor was like, they was going to eliminate all the high schools in that area. I've never heard of something like that.
Yeah. So, last summer, 2019, the governor proposed not only shutting down the high school, but potentially dissolving the school district altogether. And if you're familiar with education policy in Michigan, there's something called emergency managers, and there was different partnership agreements and consent agreements that was put in place. And ultimately, across the state of Michigan, districts that were like Benton Harbor ultimately perished and were dissolved. For example, Inkster Public Schools, for example, Muskegon Heights and Highland Park, Michigan. Those districts and high schools were closed and dissolved. And Benton Harbor was on that same pack, but the community came out and fought like tigers, like soldiers, like warriors, and the governor gave them an opportunity to save the district and revitalize it. And the Department of Education paid for the district to do a national superintendent search. And at that, I was an assistant superintendent. I threw my name in the hat. Out of over 40 applicants, I emerged as the final four and ultimately got the opportunity.
Man, so how long you been in this role?
I was voted in office on December 2019. I officially started February 17th, a month before the pandemic.
Wow, man. So that's tough. So it's kind of even hard to even really gauge, what you've been able to accomplish because you really haven't. I mean, because our students, they're not in schools, right?
Students are not in school. Actually, they're distance learning. We have a continuity of learning plan. All districts across the state of Michigan have that. And we have a really good plan that rivals plans across the district. But
what about for a district that's or a city that's so underserved? A lot of folks, oh, okay, we can do e-learning. Cool. No problem. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got internet at the crib. Everybody, is computer literate. I don't know what the case is out there. Is it turnkey like that in Benton Harbor where, hey, a majority of the kids have computers?
Absolutely not. In fact, I found this out when I got there. Benton Harbor, Michigan, and St. Joseph, Michigan is separated by a river, and there's a bridge that covered the two districts. It's the 8th most segregated district in the country, meaning in Benton Harbor, roughly $17,000 is the yearly income for a family, as opposed to across the bridge or across the river. The average family income is closer to the $70,000 range. That's a very large disproportionality or disparity. So, we had to get creative and use grant fundings. We received some very generous donations from individuals. And, a lot of people believe in Benson Harbor and want to see Benson Harbor become successful. So we relied on those resources and reallocated some resources and ensured that we bought Chromebooks for every student in our district so they can have internet access at home. Additionally, we were looking into putting Wi-Fi hotspots in some of our neighboring communities to ensure that kids had adequate access like their counterparts.
Man, that's crazy. So, I mean, why is it, to me, it like now all of a sudden it's an epidemic when, to me, I feel like Black communities, man, it's been an epidemic in regards to education, in regards to poverty. If you were, let's say if you were superintendent or secretary of education, what are some things that you would, institute immediately to address some of the historical deficits that our communities have?
Man, first and foremost, you must level the playing field with regards to finances and funding. I know in the state of Michigan, foundation allowances are roughly $8,000 per student. So what that means is every district, every student in the state of Michigan, every school district get roughly $8,000 per student. So if you have an affluent district and they get $8,000, and a district like Benson Harbor, who has a low socioeconomic status, get the same amount of money, we have different needs and different problems. So that's not equitable. What I would do is to identify a formula to ensure that the money is equitable. A lot of times in districts such as mine, you have to focus on social and emotional learning. And other programs such as adverse childhood experiences that our young people come to the table with, you have to address that and get the climate and culture situated and settled before you can move on to academic achievement. And that costs money. So I will ensure that districts like Benton Harbor would have more money to meet the needs of our students.
Like, do the schools out there, do they get funded based off property taxes?
Absolutely. That's like most school districts across the country. And yeah, I mean, when you have a lot of closed up buildings and not much commerce or a lot of economic progress going on in the community, you don't have much money going to the school district. So the revenue is very important, and it's not a lot of money here.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. What are some of the things that you do as a superintendent to try to help, try to keep parents engaged?
That's very, very good question, man. One thing I do very well is I utilize social media. Parents of school-age students are our age or younger at this point, right? And I know you're on social media like I'm on social media. So I bet you this podcast is probably going to be on Instagram somewhere. It's probably going to be on YouTube, Facebook. And that's where our parents are. So you have to create content that's appealing to the parent's eye, but it's informational about their students' education. So one thing that I do is on a weekly basis, every Wednesday, I have a videographer that come and record videos that's telling good news and really does very good things with the graphics. And we share that information on our social media platforms and get a lot of parent engagement, and it makes them want to be involved. For example, we had something called Project Lit in our district where we were giving out 400, take-home libraries to anybody that wanted them. And man, we passed out over, not only because the way we put the video together, the way we marketed it, and the way we talked about the importance of literacy with our students, we put that video out. The video, received thousands of views and nearly 100 shares across social media. And not only did we pass out over 400 kits, we gave out over 321 meals. We $15,000 in resources because of books, and parents are still coming up to the school right now, retrieving their gifts for participating in the Project Literature Challenge. Additionally, we're very intentional about meeting the needs of our families. So during this pandemic, we've served over 150,000 meals since we've been out of school in mid-March. So we stay engaged with our families. We help them meet the needs of their students, and we show them that we're all in this together.
So when you take a role like that, who are the people that you got to get on your side to really make things happen? Like, who are the people in the community and people in schools that you got to, like, okay, hey, we need to have a one-on-one meeting. Let me tell you about my vision and what I want to accomplish. Who are those folks?
Thank you for that. First and foremost is developing that relationship with the Board of Education, because they're the ones that hire you and they're elected officials. Additionally, connecting with the mayor of the city, connecting with city managers, connecting with city council members or city commissioners. And then you go down the line looking at the philanthropic population, look at different organizations such as Rotary, the Lions Club, the Divine Nine, any fraternities or sororities in the area that like to give back. You connect with the leaders, faith-based organization leaders, whether from the Muslim faith or the Christian faith or whatever the religion is in the area. You have to connect with them and let them know, hey, we have your students in our school and we need you. Let's partner. Let's link up. Tell me what I don't know. What information could help us become successful in turning around this district, increasing academic achievement and saving money. So anybody that's a leader and anybody that's a mover and shaker, move maker, anybody that's a mover community, that's who you connect with, because those are the decision makers. Those are the people that, those are the individuals that the community trusts. So you got to get clicked in with them and let the chips fall where they may, get everyone on the same page, or everybody on code, and we move this thing in a positive direction. One more.
What about, go ahead.
You have to also get good with your media apparatus. So local newspaper, news station, because a lot of negative press, but if you get in good with them and let them know up front, hey, you're a part of this process, you get some good information.
What about when you have to, you got to connect with principals, you got to connect with teachers, folks has really been a part of this system for years, and you got to come in as a young guy, undoing bad habits and sometimes making unpopular decisions. And they probably like, okay, hit, because I remember when I taught at a charter school for 4 years, and I taught public school for 3. I remember being at the charter school. We had 5 deans in 4 years. Every dean came in there strong with vision. I'm gonna do this, this, and this. Man, them kids
got them up out of there.
Broke them down. Like, I mean, guys big as you, man.
Oh, yeah.
Because, when, they like, oh, man, this guy got all the physical traits. But, it's obviously it's more than that when it comes to leading people. But I just remember, like, man, I remember believing in folks like, yo, this is the dean we need. Kids, get to them, man. Break them down, and we're not even going to talk about that. But for you, like, and I know for me as a teacher, you like, okay, here we go. We got another dean. We got another principal in here. We got another superintendent. How do you get folks to buy into you that they've been teaching longer than you've been an adult? You know what I'm saying? They've been in these positions longer than you've been an adult, and they're not trying to hear that, okay, this new method that you learned at Howard and in this book. They're like, no, it's different when you, and it is different, when you actually in it. How do you let them be heard, but then bring in your style and say, hey, well, I know that, I hear what you're saying, but this what Dr. Townsel about to do. And if you don't like it, get to stepping.
That's a good question, man. Well, first it starts with data. Every situation I went into was a promotion, and it's because of what I've done previously. So before I was a superintendent, I was an excellent assistant superintendent. Before I was an assistant superintendent, I was an excellent principal. Before I was an excellent principal, I was an excellent assistant principal, and so on and so forth. So in education, everything's about number and data. You have to move the needle. I was able to show academic return on investment on everything I did as an educational leader. In addition, you must study leadership, and you have to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. So not only am I going to work every day and seeing the lay of the land, then I go home and I study people. I study all types of people. I study influence and how do you lead educators? How do you lead executives? And you take those best practices and you apply it on a daily basis, and you cannot break. You can't break, because males, African-American males, are much needed in public education. So it's a little bit of both. It's being battle tested and battle approved, and also training and studying on an ongoing basis. And you don't got to read every book, but you have to listen to stories of people that were successful in the past and successful before you, and apply those best practices and let the chips fall where they may. And 9 times out of 10, if you're prepared and you put the work in, as you can see, I have 3 degrees in education and 2 certifications and National Superintendent certifications, in addition to a turnaround program certification from Harvard University. So that means I put the work in. I train.
All
so
the HUs, man. All the HUs. Wow.
And yeah, that's what it is. You got to put the work in, man. I know you have some phenomenal actors and athletes on here, and they all mastered their craft. Antoine Bethea, one of my teammates in college, he mastered the craft of tackling and being alert and studying film. You have to take that same energy into your professional life. You got to study the game. You got to study the industry.
But so many things in education aren't scientific. You know, like a lot of stuff is like instinctive. You know what I mean? Like it's some stuff that no matter how many classes you take, it's not in the class. It's some things that only you might be able to do, like in that regard, and the data is there, the data doesn't lie. Obviously,
Yep.
you got pre-assessments, you got post-assessments, and that's how we judge teachers, for the most part. And, that's how we judge students as well, because tests are so important, but in your role, because sometimes those teachers do have points where they do have credence, like even though they've been stuck in their old ways. So I remember coming in and being an educator, man, and listening to like teachers, I was like, yo, that don't even make sense. And then by the end of the year, be like, yo, she right. You know what I mean? Like, how do you balance that? I mean, are you more of a Mr. Clark when you when you get to town, or is it more like Mr. Rogers?
It's both. You can't be all, or you can't be all of one thing. You have to navigate it. But a good cheat code into that is I always study and always had mentors that were former superintendents, that were sitting superintendents, that were former principals, that were sitting principals. And leadership, and I've worked in 3 different states and districts. I worked in District of Columbia, I worked in the state of Massachusetts, I now work in the state of Michigan. And as different as cultures are, educational leadership is the same. It's really leading people. You're leading young people, you're leading middle-aged people, you're leading, our senior citizens, you're leading families. It's people in human development. And once you master the art of the social emotional learning competencies, knowing who you are and what you bring to the table, being socially aware of the environment that you're in, being good self-management, not blowing up and getting frustrated when dealing with difficult situations, being unflappable, having great relationships with people. You must be intentional about the relationship that you have with people. And lastly, just making flat out good decisions based on the information that you have. And you really can't lose, man. Surround yourself with people that are in the field, in the industry. Most basketball players hang with basketball players. They hooping all day, so when they get in the game, they're extremely competitive.
If you can just guarantee that by your 5th year of teaching, that this teacher you're gonna make $100,000, I think that, how they say defund the police, like basically saying stop investing so much money in police and invest in the community. I feel the same way about education. If you pay teachers $100,000, you would have a talent pool that you've never seen before in terms of people coming to, wanting to be teachers. And I think you could probably hold them more accountable because when you paying someone like that, the game changes in my opinion. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, that's just something I thought about. What about curriculum, man? If you could add something to a curriculum, that you feel like would help our community, what would it be? Like a subject,
I think it would truly be Black history, man. Not only American history, but foundational Black American history. I think the more we know about who we are as a people and the excellent um, individuals that we are as Black Americans, that would just level us up, because you can't only rely on the narratives that you see in media or the narratives that you see on the news. You got to know the in-depth history of your culture. And I believe, in college you can get African American history, but I also think that should be taught at the school level, because even students that are not African American can understand how important African American culture is to the development of the United States of America. I think that's very important. If you see a positive image of yourself, I think you'd be more inclined to organically have positive outcomes in your life.
No, that's real. And I honestly, man, that's the one thing that, well, not the one thing, but that's one of the main things that slavery, did to us, man. It took away our history. And I think as a result, it's, we see a lot of the effects of not knowing where you came from, how that plays into, your subconscious and things that you think that you can achieve, later on in life. So when, so you chose Howard, man, come out of Cass Tech. And we know anybody that been to Howard know Cass is like super prominent school, man. Everybody from Big Sean to to people like yourself. What was that? What was it like being at Cass Tech? Because Cass is that a majority Black school?
Absolutely, man. In my
That's like
opinion,
Howard. That's like Howard. That's like Howard. In Detroit.
Howard. It's pre-Howard. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's Howard, because it is Black excellence all over the place, man. And you know, I was blessed, man. I had so many opportunities in life where the good Lord blessed me. I mean, I did not get into Cass Tech until the middle of my 10th grade year, because I shared with them an excellent artist, and I was always an honor roll student coming up. But I had a tough middle school career and didn't do what was necessary to get into a magnet school such as Cass Technical High School. But I was always about 6'5", 6'4", 300 pounds. And if you know anything about Tech, they have a phenomenal football team. So I was recruited to Cass Tech because of my artistic ability, academic ability, and because of my size as a football player. And I went to Cass Tech, and the rest was history. It gave me an opportunity of a lifetime. I was recruited coming out of high school. I only played my senior year of high school. I only had the first time I ever put on pads. I was 16 years old. Because I was coached by, always listen, I wasn't the best athlete, but you can't teach size and you can't teach strength. And that goes a long way. So while learning the game, I was just very coachable. And I never forget, I went on a visit to Norfolk State University, and I was praying like, Lord, bless that they offer me a scholarship. I hope they offer me a scholarship. And the crazy thing is that the coaching staff that took me on the visit was Coach Ray Petty, Coach Howard Gilmore, and the likes, and they were all on the coaching staff at Norfolk University, Norfolk State, and I did not get a scholarship offer. And I found out that the Howard University coaching opportunity became open, and a great majority of the Norfolk State coaches went to Howard, and they remembered me from the Norfolk State trip and offered me a scholarship to Howard University. So it was an absolute blessing, man. And I came into Howard as an offensive lineman, and I turned my football scholarship into a doctoral degree. And that's I would love to talk to our student athletes about really capitalizing on that student piece and being the best you can, getting the most you can out of academics, because we had a great football coach in Rayford Petty who always said, every last one of you all are going to be an ex-athlete. So get your education while you're here. And I really took that seriously, hence why I stayed at Howard 13 years after high school.
Man, that's crazy because Antoine, he told me the similar story, as to what you're saying. So how did you apply to Howard, like, come out of college?
No, I didn't. When you're awarding the scholarship, they give you a letter of interest. You sign it, and then you apply. You know what I mean? But you have to pass the NCAA clearinghouse. If you pass the clearinghouse, and if you're offered a scholarship, it's all you have to do is pay the application fees and just apply at the moment. Then you get in because you were offered a scholarship. So it's not the same process as a student, filling out an application hoping to get into university. If you're recruited as an athlete, if you choose that school, you're automatically in.
So what years did you come into Howard?
2002. I'm a high school Cass Tech class of 2002.
Oh, class of 2002, man. So you coming into Howard, that wasn't on your radar, but obviously, I mean, you've seen some of your classmates go to Howard, and, folks from Detroit coming to Howard. So when you find out that, okay, you're not going to Norfolk, now you're going to Howard, what's that like?
Man, it was a great opportunity because one thing you got to know, during my time at Howard University, on the football team, we have an Olympic bronze medalist in David Oliver. We have
I didn't even know he played on the football team. What
yeah, he was a wide receiver for us, and he played special teams, and he was a beast. We had a really good team. We had so let me just give you a rundown. David Oliver, who won a bronze medal in the Beijing Olympics during the hurdles, he was on our team in 2004. Ron Bartell, who was drafted in the second round to, I think, the St. Louis Rams, who was also from Detroit.
Oh, really?
Antoine Bethea, drafted sixth round, drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, and who has the most tackles of any active safety in the NFL right now, 3-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl winner. We also have Jeffrey Pope, who's from Detroit, who won a Super Bowl with the New York Giants in 2005. They were all on my team at Howard University. And one thing, man.
And you had Tracy White too, right?
Tracy White, absolutely. Tracy White also had a nice long career with the Green Bay Packers, the New England Patriots.
Crazy.
Yeah, man, we had you came out in 2003, so you know all the beasts that we had there.
Crazy.
And Howard,
monsters.
Oh man, Howard.
Monsters.
One thing about Howard, man, if you're athletic and smart and you get an opportunity to go pro, you have a heck of a career, period, because you're extremely smart and extremely athletic. And also, we have a lot of doctors and physicians and
oh, really? They were on the football team?
Oh, what? Absolutely, man. Howard is no joke, man. Howard was, in my opinion, I thought they were, even though we weren't winning championships during my tenure when I was there, a lot of other teams and coaches definitely looked up to Howard because we always had the highest GPA. And despite not winning championships, we always had guys going professional. I mean, even myself, I went to the Canadian Football League, had a 2-year deal with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and I wasn't even an all-conference player.
Damn, man. So what's the money like when you playing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders? What's that money like?
The teacher salary.
Hey, but at least you're doing something you love.
Yeah, you do something you love, but I think my contract was $42,000 a year. I had a 2-year contract.
That's cool, man. That's cool to say you was a pro athlete, though.
Oh, it was cool, man. It was cool. And it's all because of Howard. I mean, I wasn't the best athlete. I wasn't the biggest, fastest, or the strongest, but I was smart. And I was able to navigate and able to be in good situations and make it work on my behalf.
Is it safe to say that, you enjoy football, but you were using football you weren't letting the game use you? Is that safe to say?
For sure. For me, because again, I was a late bloomer in football. I didn't play until my senior year in high school, and I learned the game in college. Ultimately started my senior year in college. So I was always in learning mode when it came to football. But I knew that through football, I was getting a world-class education. And
so you knew that was a part of your DNA off rip.
For sure. I mean, and it oozes through Howard University, as you know, man. It's academic excellence. They have a phenomenal school of business, a great school of engineering, good fine arts program. You cannot go through Howard University and not come out with some level of success.
What about, navigating in a world where you're responsible for this, for basically our community. And when I say our community, you're really responsible for the members of our community, that not only the people that have, but in large part the people that don't have, and then you're working with colleagues that everything that they do, that the book says do, it works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you go to and try to apply this stuff that in the book, it may work, it may not work. It's asterisk next to this, or you got people making decisions, but they haven't been to Benton Harbor. They haven't lived in Detroit. They haven't lived a Howard experience. They don't know what it's like to, because when I got to Howard, man, like being around that much excellence, Black excellence, that was new for me. I had never seen that ever in my life. I didn't go to a Black high school. I went to all boy, all white high school. How is it? Is it challenging for you to navigate in those worlds? Because sometimes, even as a teacher, I used to get frustrated explaining to my students, like, it's something else bigger out here. Just breaking that down to them was tough for me, let alone trying to break it down to administration who, like you said, is numbers driven, and sometimes when numbers is numbers driven, you can't really afford to spend a lot of time on an investment in the things that, aren't working.
Yeah, man, it's really about being efficient in your craft. One thing that I'm always doing, I'm always reading up on best practices, and I always give information based off of research, never pulling out the sky. And then, like I shared earlier, when you know things, you talk with such a level of confidence where people don't dispute you. Because you can't look up in the sky and say, well, I think we got to, no, you talk confidently and tell them what we going to do. Like a leader does, talk like a leader talks. And people usually get on board. Most people want structure. Most people want stability. Most people want leadership. People beg for leadership. People clamor for leadership. And you hear that in complaints. Well, we didn't do this. We didn't do that. You have to come confident in speaking, not timid, not with timidity, but with confidence and such a swagger of leadership and an unflappable stoic personality. And how can people not follow that? That's an influence to anybody.
Man, that's real. That's real, man. So, okay. Well, I'm glad you said that, man, because I mean, some of the things is, really just knowing, having access to that data, but knowing that stuff inside and out. And also what you said earlier about just, being prepared to the point where, if you work on yourself more than what you do on your job, like how much that adds to it. When you were at Howard, I know you said you didn't start to your senior year. Was that to like the fifth year as a senior, or?
Yeah, I was a fifth-year senior when I had an opportunity to start at right tackle, and we had a great football season. We had the opportunity to play against Rutgers University. We beat a top 25 team in Delaware State. We had a lot of successes, man, and that comes from just studying and now that was the first year I started. I always did play. Just wasn't a start. I always had upper in front of me. But when I had the opportunity, it was a chance to apply everything that I learned. And to get positive praise from your coaches, you feel validated.
So when you weren't starting, were you still putting the work in? Or were you was your mind somewhere else at all? Or it was always vested in the team?
It was always there because you're on scholarship. The last thing anybody wanted to do.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
Give me that money back. You stealing. You ain't contributing to the team. So, no, always putting in work, whether it's on scout team, which is the practice squad, preparing our starters for the game.
Did you feel pressure, though, being a scholarship kid, to be like, man, I need to be starting? Or was that not the case?
I didn't, because I thought I had a unique situation. I was learning the game in college, and my coaches knew that. I played under the same head coach for 5 years, and he was a great coach, man, because he invested in me as a Black man. He did not send me back to Detroit without a degree, without an education, without learning some principles. He kept me in the locker room with the Antoine Bethays, kept me in the locker room with the Jeffrey Popes, the Tracy Whites. the Ron Bartels, the David Olivers. These are all, championship caliber athletes.
World class athletes.
World class athletes. The coach kept us in the locker room with those guys, even if you weren't as talented as them, because a lot of those traits translate into the professional world. You have to be the best of the best. If you can't do it physically, you can do it mentally and emotionally and socially. So that's what I took away from it. I learned as much as I could from those gentlemen, and applied that into my professional life. And
Are you the man you are today without being on the football team at
no,
Howard?
I don't think so. I think opportunity of a lifetime, man. Opportunity of the lifetime. I mean, I named world-class individuals, first of all, that I had a chance to be with day in and day out. You do not walk away mediocre. You walk away with some level of achievement in some field that you pursue because of very specific principles and disciplines that are repeated every day. You become successful.
What about your experience outside of football at Howard? I mean, was it – I know football is like having a job, a full-time job. But, what was that like?
It was a good experience outside. I mean, I had an opportunity to meet a lot of great people, a lot of socializing. A student athlete, I think we all would probably say that you don't have the same life as non-student athletes because so much time is committed to film, weightlifting, practice, when sometimes people are, joining each other in study hall sessions or hanging out on the yard or chilling, going out to the movies together. Our time like that is very seasonal. It's generally in the off season, sometime in the summertime, and you have to fit that in. So my life outside of being a student athlete, I feel like I missed out on a lot because, I wasn't the best student at the time. I had to put a lot of effort into studying. So socially, I don't think I maximized that opportunity. But when I went into graduate school at the master's and doctoral level, I think I did have an opportunity to dabble in the social life just a bit.
Okay, I'm on my team. Half my teammates gonna be lawyers, doctors, and businessmen. On your team, y'all legitimately all trying to get to the NFL. You know what I'm saying? What is it like when you playing, like when you already a superior athlete yourself, but you playing against like
elite
of the elite? Like what goes through your mind when you like, damn, this dude is pushing me around. I ain't never been pushed like this before. You know what I'm saying?
At first, when you're younger in college, it's very intimidating because, like I said, I'm 6'5", 300 pounds. But, you're looking at a guy 6'8", 300 pounds. You know what I'm saying? So it's at first it's intimidating. But over time, once you become a seasoned college athlete, it's a mutual understanding. Even when we played the Rutgers or the Akrons or, the Eastern Michigans, the reality is those guys knew that Howard was an academic school. Everyone knows that. It's an academic school that has a football team, and they have a lot of great athletes that go there as well, too. So it's an understanding. No one's there to punk you or make you look bad, but it's a mutual respect because if you're not the best of the best athlete, you're probably the best of the best scholar in whatever you're studying or major that you're in. And that's a mutual respect. And when we played at Rutgers, it was very cool, man. People respected the fact that, we were, future doctors, future lawyers, future superintendents, and also future professional athletes. So it was just love, man. It's hard to explain, but it was definitely a mutual respect among student athletes.
What about being at Howard? Like, how at most schools, like the athletes at most college, like the athletes are revered, and not to say they like, because we knew one team you did not mess with was the football team. That was known throughout campus by all the civilians, as I call ourselves. But at a lot of schools, like top blue blood programs, the athletes are treated like royalty, throughout, like celebrities throughout campus. What did it feel like to be at Howard and to, just be regarded as a student who's on the football team?
You know what, man? It was humbling. You know what I mean? Because in some cases, a lot of student athletes that go to Howard were top at their school, and they go from being a superstar and treated, like kings. And even girl basketball players probably treated like queens where they come from. You go to Howard, it's like, you just play sports, but we're gonna get this work in the classroom. It's humbling,
Yeah, exactly.
It makes you a great student. It just does,
Yeah.
because your focus becomes on what's important. I think Howard teaches you what's important. If you don't have that ACL, if you don't have that shin working appropriately, or your ankles are twisted up real bad, how are you going to make a living? You're not going to run forever. You're not going to jump extremely high forever. How are you going to make a living? And it's up here. Howard teaches you that. And they don't put their athletes on the pedestal. They respect them, however.
Yeah, for sure.
Always respectful of the student athletes and always made it possible for you. But you were not treated different from the other students that were there on academic scholarships, because at the end of the day, we got to change the world. And you only can go so far throwing a football and dribbling a basketball. If you're not LeBron James or have that platform, what platform can you use to change the world? And I think Howard teaches that.
So when you graduated Howard, man, at what point are you like, man, education is where I'm taking my talents?
When I realized I was not going professional right out of college, you kind of kicked out into society. You got to get a job. You know what I mean? And because I studied education, I looked at all schools that were hiring, put my name in the hat, applied for different job opportunities, and then also.
So what type of things were you applying for? Because I know you say you played 2 years of football after college, right?
Yeah, I had so I started teaching first. I started teaching in the 2008 2009 school year. That was my first year teaching. And during that school year in 2009 in March, I was offered a contract to play in the CFL with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So I went out to training camp with them, and I was ultimately released from training camp that summer. And when I came back to America, I'm like, oh, okay, pro sports is over with. I got to really get back into teaching. So my principal was very generous and allowed me to keep my job as a physical education teacher. And I stayed in that realm and worked on a master's and doctoral degree, enrolled into a doctoral program. And at the same time, really leveling up in education. That was my bread and butter. That's how I was going to make a living. So I just studied it, mastered it, and tried to excel at it to the best of my ability.
Man, PE teachers be stealing. I'm sorry. They stealing. I taught 4 years of PE. That had to be the best job I ever had in my life. PE teachers, number one, you get to wear what you want to wear to work, first of all. So you can throw this on tomorrow. So you wearing the shoes that the students want. You wearing the best gym shoes, best hoodies, all of that. 2, you ain't got to worry about them state standards. You ain't got that pressure. You know what I'm saying? 3, you get your own office. You get your own office. 4, man, you get paid the same as everybody else that's a teacher. And you get to stay in shape. You know what I'm saying? You get to stay in shape. Like teaching. Now, I taught an elective. I taught entrepreneurship too, and we did really well in that class. But I remember it just went back to Howard. I was like, all right, I can only do PE for so long. I can't be a career PE teacher. But I'm telling you, dude, sometimes I'd be like, man, that was a lick. Like it wasn't
I play basketball every day if you want to after school or whatever. It was a cool gig, but I found out, man, I had so much influence with those young kids. Man.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other thing.
The influence, and I was always a high school teacher, so I was always at the high school level, and I got a lot of bonds and relationship with students because they see you as a human, they see you as an athlete, they see you as a teammate. You know what I mean? When you're engaged in teaching team sport, and you can teach a lot of life lessons, a lot of those things I share with you as a student athlete, football player at Howard University.
What are your thoughts when people say like exams are like culturally biased?
Yeah, I saw a comic clip that had a giraffe, a zebra, a monkey, a raccoon, an elephant, and there was someone sitting behind the desk that says, "Okay, for today's test, everyone climb the tree." You know what I mean? Come on. It's, that's
That's a
how I,
good. That's a good example.
yeah, in some cases, that's what we say standardized assessments are. But my thing is, man, you learn what you're being tested on and you master it, plain and simple. You can still, learn everything you need to know with regards to education, but know the main thing and keep the main thing the main thing. If you're going to be tested on geometry, master the standards of geometry. If you're going to be tested on literacy, master the standards of literacy. Very simple. I don't like to make excuses. I like a challenge, and I don't wish it was easier. I wish I was better. So, that's the philosophy that I have going into a school. If they say, less than 5% of our students are college or career ready, we're going to get college and career ready and be more than 5%. That's just the way we're wired.
Man, how does it feel to have a job where, let's say, 10% of the kids are now college and career ready? Like, that's considered a success.
You know what, man? You just got to get better every day. And in education case, you got to get better every year. So my mentality is, when I come in as a leader, at the minimum, I'm going to give you equal value of what you had, but I'm always going for better value. So equal or better value is my philosophy. You would never go down.
Thoughts on school choice?
I think, we're in a society where, people like options. I understand that. As a district leader who want everybody to go to my school district, it's up to me to have the best school system around so people can choose me.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a capitalist society. It's about merits. It's about being the best. If we're the best and we're gaining 100 students every year, that's success. You want to have the best education program possible. And, parents are sending the best versions of their students to you, their most prized possession to you. And they have a right to send their student to the best that they think is the best. But it's up to you as the educational leader to ensure that your education programming is the best programming and that they choose you. So it is what it is, and that's the game that we have to play. But the strategy is have the best system.
Is there a better way to pay for public schools or fund public schools than through property taxes?
I think so. I think you can look at a lot of things. They just passed marijuana laws where it's now legal. Give that money right to the schools. All that extra money you're making off taxes, right to the school fund. Not only property taxes, I'll look at sales taxes, and also the federal government. I think they should put more money into school districts outside of grants. Give districts on the level of Benton Harbor more general fund dollars. And that's hard to do. We can't just do that overnight. But it comes from our federal government. If our state can't do it because of the way they're systemically set up, how do we rely on our federal government?
Because you see, like, when all these businesses, were struggling, even when the big three in Detroit was struggling back, 10 or so years ago, government came and had money with the bailout. Same thing with the PPP money. The government was able to find the money to give to small businesses. I was one of them, to bail them out and help them with payroll. I mean, my question is, why don't we see the government doing, bailing Black folks out, investing more in us? Because when you look at how much it costs to, that school to prison pipeline, how much states spend on prisoners versus how much they spend on, kids in school. It's a huge discrepancy there.
It is, man. The reality is, schools, have massive budgets. It's a massive amount of money going to school. Just in some cases, people don't see schools as valuable as they are. We're one of the few societies that test or that make education accessible to all of our citizens. And that comes with a hefty price tag. But I believe when school districts that struggle and get into structural budget deficits like mine, I think it's very important to bail those school districts out so those young kids can have an equal opportunity to education, and also ensure that we get equitable funding. If an affluent school district is getting roughly $8,000 per student, I don't think a poor or a school district that has a low socioeconomic demographic should get the same amount. They probably need a little bit more because some young people are coming to the schoolhouse with different needs and need different levels of support, and that costs money.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. What advice do you have for guys like yourself, man, from the inner city? You know, you're from Detroit. You're from the west side of Detroit?
Yes, sir.
You're from the west side of Detroit, man. I mean, but you've been able to use sports as a way at least to get undergrad paid for.
Yes.
You know, and you know, you've been around world-class people, had amazing relationships, and you've been able to allow these other institutions and these other networks across the country to see your talent, man. What advice do you have for that 18-year-old kid that wants to have college success and career success and equally family success, man? You got 2 kids, you know, you're married, and you right in the hood.
Yeah.
Dr. Townsel running through the projects for cardio.
It's all good. Man, my advice for a young student going to a university, Howard University, be coachable, not just as an athlete, but in every aspect of your experience. Learn. Soak up as much game as you possibly can from professors, from upperclassmen, from other student athletes. Be a sponge. That's all I was at Howard. I was always in learn mode, always absorbing, always looking at other people's mistakes and saying, okay, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And always looking at other people's successes and say, okay, I'm going to strive for that. Being coachable is bottom line, man. And engaging in a few disciplines every single day that's leading to success. That's what I'd say, man. Be coachable in every aspect of your career. From if you're going to the School of Business, when Fortune 500 companies come to talk to you, be coachable. Soak up all the game. Everything that they tell you, you soak it up and you apply it as best as you can. When your professors are dropping knowledge and good game, soak it up. And then when you take that game, when you have an opportunity, apply it. Apply it. That's all I did, was apply everything that I learned. I was always in learn mode. Even to this day, 3 degrees later, 2 certifications later, I'm still looking to learn so I can be the best I can possibly be. LeBron James still has a coach, and he's the best basketball player in the world. He still has a coach because he wants to be the best he can be and sustain being the best.
That's real, man. Another question, man, before we wrap up. Why Kappa Alpha Psi?
You know what, man? What I found out is that I have a lot in common with our founders. Our founders are generally from the Midwest, and most of them ultimately either began at Howard University or ended their careers at Howard University. So a lot of them went to Howard University and ultimately went back home and went to the University of Indiana, and ultimately started a fraternity and even got masters and in some cases doctoral degrees from Howard University. So I feel like, they're me. I mean, Indiana is one of our neighboring states. So I felt like, I had a lot in common with them, and it's a bond of achievers that achieve in every field of human endeavor. Some notable Kappas that you may know is, for one of our leaders of our time right now, Colin Kaepernick, Kappa Alpha. And he's, almost the dang near face of the, movement that we're in right now as a country.
What do you think about what Colin did? Was you with him on that when he was initially doing that?
It's brave, man. He took a risk. You know what I mean? For the greater good. I mean, everything is about the long game, and everything is about marathon. You can't always be impulsive and think about the present. You got to think about tomorrow. And I believe that's what he was doing. And as you can see, I mean, he didn't miss a beat, although he's not playing in the NFL. He has a shoe deal with Nike. He has a sponsorship with Nike, making millions of dollars. He's probably making money as a national speaker, speaking about, know your rights, etc. So, it wasn't popular at the time, but I mean, as you can see, the NFL didn't call his name, but they apologized and said they got it wrong, because when our young people got out there protesting the way they, want to seek justice, people were saying, man, do it peacefully. And it made you reflect. Colin Kaepernick was protesting peacefully.
So in the pandemic, man, how has it affected, your ability to, because I'm sure you had a master plan coming in,
Sure.
early this year. How has this affected some of the things that you're trying to do?
A little bit. I mean, the pandemic hit almost in the fourth quarter, where the quarter left of school. But I mean, another thing you can apply, we had to monitor and adjust. They called an audible, distance learning, draft up the play, put the play together, disseminate it, and see if it works. But it was tough, But when you trust in leadership and you trust in what you've learned, you have to be ready for any scenario. Thank God I have great relationships with other superintendents across the state of Michigan. Thank God I have great mentors who care about my success as an educational leader. And you tap into those resources. You can't do it alone. And on top of that, I have a phenomenal team that I work with on a daily basis. And we get into that war room and we chop up good game and we put out the best strategy possible for our students to be successful.
One thing I noticed you said, man, so you came in to this role in the fourth quarter. That means things must have really been bad.
Oh, yeah.
Damn. So did you have to clean house?
I had to reallocate.
So you had to reallocate. So, and I wanted to wrap up, but so from a perspective, man, how old are you?
36.
What are you doing, man? You 36. Who do you think you are, man, to go into this system at 36 thinking you're going to change something? You and your doctor title.
Full power. You can't underestimate a black man that knows his stuff. I'm in full hero mode, and I see a need. It's my job to meet a need. So
is that stressful though, man? Dealing with that type of, putting that type of weight on you?
Absolutely stressful, and it's lonely, very lonely. But our students need champions. They need heroes. And it's you can't be selfish and think about yourself. I can't think about me and my career and say, I want to have a long career so I can eat good and sleep good. People need help. Man. Who's gonna? I'm capable.
What is it like to walk those halls, man, and get that type of respect? Like from OGs, it's been like, been in the game forever, and they looking at you like superintendent, like this school better be clean when he come. No, John better be gone when he come. Like what is that like to have that type of respect from?
Man, it feels good, especially when you. It feels really good. I don't know how to explain it because, it's genuine respect. There's no one, saying, "Oh, here comes the superintendent." It's here comes Dr. Townsel.
Right.
Townsel is a brand. In a positive way, it's a brand of ethics, leadership, excellence, integrity, and competence. So when Dr. Townsel's coming, people are like, "Damn, are we excellent?" Man, we're looking for excellence. It's a good thing, man. That's great. That's great. It's respect, man, and I feel it is genuine. It's sincere. I'm not a fake dude, not a fake individual, man. I mean, to this day, I still, rap with the kids. Sometimes I get out there, run, hoop with them. And they feel that, when I'm running neighborhoods, kids stop me talking, "You do this every day?" I'm like, "Yeah, come run with me one day." You know what I'm saying? So I'm just chilling. So it's respect, man. It's respect, and it's appreciated, and they appreciate it.
You have any like black teachers or they've been there for a while or like come up to you like, man, we so glad you're here?
Oh, for sure, absolutely, all the time, everywhere I've been,
Wow,
have those conversations with.
that's crazy,
Black,
man.
yes.
Like, do you ever sit back and you like look at your resume or your bio and you like sit with your wife like, damn, like I was just looking for a job. You know what I'm saying? 7, 8 years ago, when I got out of Howard, I was trying to be a substitute teacher, trying to be on the Saskatchewan Anteaters or whatever their name is. And now, I'm killing it. Like, do you sit back and reflect on the responsibility
I
and
think.
what you've achieved?
Yeah, I think that's necessary to do. You got to see where you've come from, because what people see is the doctoral degree, the position, but they don't see when I was getting out of class 8:30 at night, picking up my 2-year-old son from a babysitter. You know what I'm saying? Trying to hustle, get him home. Waking up 5 o'clock in the morning, taking him so I can go to work, and then working all day and leaving to go to class. People don't see the work that was put in. So sometimes I do reflect and just get happy and be thankful for coming a long way and achieving goals. But the difference of discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. And I've had some very intentional disciplines that I repeated day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out, and it ultimately landed me here. So I reflect and I'm thankful for it. And, I do the same thing to move forward because, as a young man, 36 years old, in 4 years, I'll be 40, and I would have been a superintendent almost 5 years in this district. So I'm still very young with a lot of work in front of me. So the sky's the limit. We never know where this may go. I could be the Michigan State Superintendent, Secretary of Education. We don't know how far it can go.
Man, imagine that. Could you imagine that, man?
Oh, for sure.
Damn, man, President Howard.
Hey, I love it. Shout out to Dr. Frederick.
Man, so legacy, man. What's your legacy?
My legacy is, I think it's the motto of Howard University: Veritas et Utilitas, truth and service. That's my legacy. I'm gonna keep it real with you, and I'm gonna serve you, and we're gonna get better together. And we're gonna do it in excellence.
Man. So you telling me if I was on a football team with you back in at Howard and I saw you with the cornrows, am I saying it? Are those same teammates saying that that's gonna be Dr. Townsel?
Yeah, I think the friends that I've developed at Howard. I mean, we all were smart, so we could all see each other
So
in our.
how do we get the white police officer to see the Andrae Townsel with the long white tee and French braids draped? How do we get to see that? How do we get them to see that kid as a doctor?
You have to understand warfare and knowing what goes on in our society. When you're stopped by a potential white supremacist cop, you have to look at it as warfare and protect yourself. Ensure you're laboring with the language, saying the right things at all times. You're behind enemy lines. Don't do anything that our coach used to always say, don't let the referee make a bad call. So if you're a wide receiver, they throw the ball, you catch the ball, and it look like you fell on the ground and caught the ball. Don't look at the referee and see if he's going to blow it down. Pick the ball up and say, I got the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To let him think that, well, maybe he's so confident that he caught it, maybe he caught it. You have to act like that when you're behind enemy lines. When you stop by the police or whatever the case may be on your A game. Don't do a bunch of hooping and holler. I know my rights. Calm, cool, collected.
So let's go to a lighter topic. um, Howard Jeopardy, real quick, and see what you know about the school. You already answered a few of these questions just in your answers,
Here we go.
but just rapid fire and some Howard Jeopardy. All right, so first question. What year was Howard founded?
1867.
What is the Howard motto?
Veritas et utilitas.
How do you spell Crampton?
Cramton.
Where'd you stay as a freshman?
Freshman year, I stayed in Slow.
Oh wow. I think those are condos now. What's the address of Slow?
What street was that? Dang. Was that Euclid? Euclid Street?
Let's see. Address of Slow Hall. I wouldn't expect you to say Slow Hall, man. 1919 3rd Street?
That was 3rd Street?
Yep.
No. I didn't stay in Slow. My bad. I stayed in Carver.
Is Carver still around? I'm not sure. Man, they put you in a Carver as a freshman on a football team?
I got scholarship, and they had to get in where I fit in.
Yeah, I'm sure you weren't complaining. The next question. Reared against the eastern sky. What comes
Proudly there on Hilltop High. Far above the lake so blue, stands O Howard firm and true. There she stand for truth and right, sending forth her rays of light, clad of road and majesty. O Howard, we sing of thee. Be thy rear our guide and stay, leading us from day to day. Make us true and lill and strong, ever bold to battle wrong. Help me out. And if we gone away, may we strive for thee each day. As we sail life's rugged sea, O Howard, we sing of thee.
Damn, bars. I forgot you was a rapper, so that's not even fair, man. What's the zip code of Howard?
Man, I've been out 2059.
Dang, you got that right. Man, who's the president of Howard?
Dr. Wayne Frederick.
Who's Howard named after?
Oliver Howard, General Oliver Howard.
How many schools and colleges does Howard have?
13.
Damn, you got like a 90%. Did you get all these right? All right. Real quick, rapid fire. U Street or Adams Morgan?
Adams Morgan. U Street now, but Adams Morgan back in the day.
Is homecoming better as a student or as an alum?
Equal, man. It's equal to me.
Best Howard moment?
My senior year, Howard football.
What's the biggest loss you ever took? Biggest L?
When I was kicked out of Howard my freshman year for academic ineligibility.
Oh, so your grades was in the tank. What happened?
Hey, wasn't cutting it, coach.
Were you just not prepared for class, or was it the freedom?
Playing video games, and I should be studying.
Wow. We could have talked about that, man. What's your proudest achievement?
Earning every degree I've earned. I mean, I thought, man, every last one of them was the cream of the crop to me. Every graduation.
Tailgate or Yard Fest?
Yard Fest.
Jordan or LeBron?
Michael Jordan. I love LeBron too.
Man, I'm not even gonna talk about how Detroit did Jordan, but sad. Worst advice you ever got?
Worst advice I've ever gotten?
Probably like, let's play GoldenEye one more time.
No, people trying to convince me to go to another school other than Howard.
Oh, okay. What is the hardest part of being a boss?
Leading people, man. I mean, you have to lead multiple personalities.
Howard China or China Wonder?
Howard China, Ho Chi.
When did you realize that you were the shit?
When I became one of the youngest superintendents in the state of Michigan.
Man. Howard men don't cheat.
True.
When did you find your voice?
Man, that's a good question, brother. Throughout the Howard process, to be honest with you, it developed over time every year.
If you got to start one, bench one, or cut one, you got freshman orientation, you got homecoming, graduation. Start one, bench one, cut one.
I would bench. Okay, freshman orientation cut. I would start. What was the other two?
Homecoming and graduation.
Oh, you start graduation and you can bench homecoming because it's multiple home. You can go homecoming forever. Graduation's once in a lifetime.
I knew you was gonna say that because I feel like football players ain't get that freshman orientation experience because y'all was on the grind from like 2 weeks prior. Because I was a campus pal.
Oh yeah, you already campus then.
So like kicking it freshman, it was nothing like freshman orientation, like nothing like it. But I get it. The Burr or Green Stadium?
You know what, man? I enjoyed the Burr. Basketball season was always on point.
Would you rather play at a sold out FedEx Field or standing room only at Green?
Standing room only at Green. Them Howard games were crazy, boy.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, Dr. Townsel, you've been a great guest today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, man, and had a great time.
If people want to keep up with your movement, I mean, I saw that you were in Cranes magazine, which is dope because they fact check.
Oh, for sure.
The Detroit News saw your feature in there, man. But if people want to, follow you or get in touch with you, how do they do that?
I think Twitter and Instagram is probably the best. At Draytown, at DRAETOWN. And if you want to just see what I've done in my career, my LinkedIn is always a good place as well too. It's like a walking resume, and I post a lot of successes on the job on there as well. So LinkedIn at Dr. Andrae Townsel, and Twitter and Instagram at Draytown, DRAETOWN.
So this time next year, man, what are we saying about Benton Harbor, the school system? What are we saying, man? I got this on. This is being recorded. What are we saying?
Did you see how they leveled up? We leveled up.
Did you see how they leveled up? Okay, cool, man. So we're gonna run this, man. So right now, man, with some areas of improvement, as with any school district. But we definitely gonna keep an eye out, man. So we're rooting for you. Definitely proud of you and all the work that you've done and dedicating your life to service. It's not easy to take your family and put them right in the middle of everything that's going on. But thanks for being an example, man. Definitely rooting for you and happy for you.
Thank you so much, man. Be blessed.
Thank you for joining the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the Howard legacy at the highest levels. To hear more interviews or purchase merchandise, please visit www.humovemakers.com.